Okay, so this week's topic is on safety, which is one of our topics for doohickeys. So before we quickly go through it, let me read a couple of these questions. Okay, so the first step, let's discuss what happened at the very end of the thing. So at 9 o'clock, Tevins, Harris, and Merton were meeting for a meeting to fire somebody. I can't remember who it was exactly.
Let's see.
To fire Carl Olson. And the question is, what position would you advocate in that meeting? So if we were Merton, so the girl, the safety director, what would our position be in that meeting?
I think that'd be kind of a tough situation for her, especially because a lot of the people were taking the safety rules very lightly, even the managers. So one could say it's unfair to fire him because he could say, well, no one else has been doing it. So why are you taking the stand against me? Do you have something against me? But then at the other time, if there's no legitimate punishment, then people might keep on breaking the safety rules.
Yeah, so would you say that maybe the CEO, Tevins, was, or the works manager was kind of just trying to start the facility to follow the rules?
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought. So maybe instead of firing him, maybe I'd give him a different punishment just to show an example of like, hey, I'm not going to take the safety rules lightly anymore. And then people will see that, kind of find that happy medium, maybe. I don't know.
So
Yeah, I think that's a good.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, April.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So with the supervisors, Ned, I think most companies that work really well, they do have kind of like Jovi's saying, they have a progression or like a 3 strikes or something like that, where, if you can't just fire them out of the blue without any warning. I mean, it did say it's like the 3rd incident like this under him, but there was never a process before saying, well, if you have another slip up on the rules, you're going to be terminated. So since there was nothing, there's no steps leading up to that, I think it'd be a little soon to fire him over that incident.
That's what I was going to say. So Ned Steppensick is the one that we're talking about firing, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was going to say the same thing. Even though it says this was his 3rd incident, there was no formal write-ups or anything like that. What else is I going to say about that? Oh, and it said the repair that Olson was required to do, it was way too close to the pot line and in a congested area. And then while making the repair, he slipped on some loose material. So it's, I thought that was just an unsafe work environment to begin with.
Yeah.
And from all the other videos and readings that we had to do before we read this case, it talked about training people and motivating them more to take pride in their work. And I think that maybe the issue here is more of one of preparing the workers to take pride in their work and their environment and keep it safe on their own, to be proactive and look and say, hey, I should pick up that material so that somebody doesn't come along and slip on it. Those were my thoughts on that.
I definitely agree. I think that some steps have to be taken, but I don't think you can fire him because he hasn't had any kind of warning ahead of time. But if he does have like a warning for the future, like, hey, if you keep doing this, then we'll let you go, then I think it's okay. But I don't think you can let him go just yet.
Yeah. One thing I was thinking also was the manager was coming in just to see what he can do, and he invited those other two over just to like back him up that he wasn't following the rules. But I don't know. So we've kind of already talked about it, but was it Stepanchik's fault that that guy got hurt?
I mean, it did say like he was the one responsible that's supposed to say, okay, we need to shut this down. We need to, take all these safety precautions before we even let you in there. So technically it is that part of it is his fault, but the fact that he actually got hurt isn't his fault because it was Olson who ultimately slipped and fell, and he didn't have anything to do with that. So I'd say it's partially, but not fully.
It kind of, you bring up a good point, Kent, because I've been told at jobs, I was doing maintenance at an apartment complex here in Rexburg, and I've been told by my managers to do certain things. It's safe. And I could have just agreed, which would have been stupid, but I questioned them, and like he wasn't upset after I questioned him. He's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I totally forgot. Sorry about that. And so I think I guess we can say it's the manager's fault, but at the same time, we need to be aware of our safety as well. We shouldn't just agree to do with everything the manager says. Like, yeah, maybe they're just trying to put up productivity, but at the same time, they might just accidentally have forgotten,
Hey, go jump off a cliff. Oh wait, that's not safe.
Right.
To go back to the giving a warning, in the letter that was sent to the girl, someone just dropped. Anyways, it says, I've warned Ned several times, but he hasn't got the message. I think it's time to make it clear that safety violations won't be tolerated. So do you think that was kind of a warning? Well, I don't know. It's not really a warning at that point, but do you think the manager thinks that that was enough of a warning towards Ned?
I think kind of going back to what we've talked about before with discrimination and all those things, if the manager just vocally says, hey, you need to be more safe, like that's not enough of a warning. Like you need to document it. You need to sit down with someone and say, hey, this is a violation. We're going to write you up for this, for not following this procedure. And you both have to sign it, or else, it's not clearly documented. It's not, it's maybe he didn't hear him verbally. There's no evidence that ever happened, and that it wasn't clear enough, wasn't a good enough form of a warning to count.
Yeah.
And if you want him to take it more serious, you need to take him serious yourself. Like, you can't just say, hey, be more safe. All right, see ya.
Right.
Like, if it is serious to you, then you will take the time to sit down and say, hey, we really need to be safe. This is what we're going to do. I want you to sign this. And we talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps everyone responsible.
Agreed.
I was actually studying industrial hygiene and aux safety for a couple of semesters. And one of the most important things I learned was documentation is one of the most important things that a business can do, especially as a safety manager. Because like Kent was saying, if they don't have it documented, then they don't have any legitimate proof. And I was actually kind of surprised how many times or how often safety managers or companies were taken to court. And my safety instructor said that his butt was saved so many times because he had legitimate documentation. And I'm actually getting into human resources, and I don't think that I'm going to have as many responsibilities as a safety manager does have in regards of this, but human resource managers do share some responsibility. So it's kind of like, oh dang, like I really need to make sure that we're really organized.
I agree. Okay, so when firing Stefan Chick, what kind of message would that send to other people in the industry?
I think where they're already unpopular to begin with. You know, I mean, I usually come from the other side of the safety rules. Like, I'm usually the one that disagrees with them and thinks it's overkill and whatnot on the farm or whatever. But if you just fire him out of nowhere, that's just going to become even more unpopular because they're just firing him over nothing. Like, it wasn't even his fault. That's going to hurt the relationship even more with the rest of the employees. Just because there wasn't, like we've talked about, there's not good standing to fire him.
Yeah.
It's going to make the safety probably issue get worse.
Right. And probably create a lawsuit for the company because he's probably not going to go easy on this. So he's not going to want to leave without a fight.
In my thoughts when reading through about halfway, one of their goals was to have 0 incidents throughout the year. And I just thought that was so unrealistic, especially with the amount of people that was there. So if you fired him, like, does that send a message to everyone saying, don't mess up or you're going to get fired? Or are they just going to look at it as he's been told a couple times and we were there? So I don't know. It would have to give more information to let us talk further and make like a legit conclusion with that. But I do agree with both of your answers. So would it be fair for him to consider other supervisors or how other supervisors treat safety issues?
Yeah, I think it'd be the best way for a company or organization to be safe is for them to be on the same track. So communication. So I think maybe actually what they've done at Agri Northwest, when I was working there a few years ago, we had a safety meeting when we started applying METTAM to some of the circles. And we had a safety meeting where they brought pizza and treats and stuff. And we had like little worksheets that we went along with. And so we were all on the same page and we made it fun instead of some stupid safety rules that we had to follow. It was something like, oh, we understand why this is important. We understand that they really care about our safety instead of just some jerk that is on a on his high horse, you know, giving out rules.
Yeah, I think that's important that when like education and communication, like showing also like what I struggle when someone like starts telling me I need to obey all these rules or safety rules. What my biggest struggle is like I'm the one doing it. They have never done it in their lives. They have no idea what it's like. That's frustrating. But if someone comes and gives a presentation saying, hey, I understand this is what you're doing and this is why it's dangerous and we care about your safety and this is why we want you to do those things, that goes over so much better. And I'm like, okay, they just like they care about my well-being. This is important and it is dangerous. And so I'll listen to what they say. And food is always definitely a plus too.
Yeah.
What I got from it
Go ahead, William.
was that the supervisors didn't really care for the people. They just were focused more on the next year's safety goals.
Right.
So so I agree with you, Ken, a lot. Okay, let's move on to the next section. So we're gonna go look at the data to understand what the issues are at Mission Valley. And it wants us to split in groups. So do two of you want to be individual? Because there's 3 groups and there's only 4 or 5 of us now.
There we go.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully it works. Oh, there we go. Okay, so let's see
Nice.
if I can make this smaller. Okay, so there's 3 groups. I will just do the 3rd one by myself. Maybe April and Josh can do the 1st one, and then Jovi and Kent do the 2nd group one. So just basically read through it, and then I'll just ask you. Well, I guess you guys can explain it afterwards too, and we can do that. Just take like 2 minutes, and I'll come back to see what it's like.
Okay. Let's see. So number 2,
Okay, sorry.
Exhibit 5. Exhibit 5. Which injury numbers are improving? Which are getting worse?
Exhibit.
Okay, so Exhibit 5. Looks like congestion is getting a little worse than atmospheric.
Congestion. Noise hazard.
So sorry if you can't see this. Anybody else? I just have this up. So with the first one, Josh and April.
Yeah.
So does productivity decrease?
Yes.
Okay. And is it a lot?
Yes. Hold on, I'm looking at Exhibit 7 now.
And that was one of the questions in the quiz was smelting. Was it, or what section of the industry had the most injuries? So
yeah, smelting.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do each for each. Okay, so you would do. Man, that's crazy. A lot of information.
Smelting had the worst, and then it went down. Fabrication went up. Rolling went down. Let's see.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. You'd have to go in and calculate each equation,
Yeah.
which I wish we had Excel, this connected to Excel. Okay, I'm just going to do one of them.
What did it mean on Exhibit 3? Let's see, it says total production employee hours by production department. Why is August 1991 like 19? Why did it drop so low?
On Exhibit 3?
Yeah.
I don't know. It goes from like 2100 to 176, or like.
Yeah,
That's
so
weird.
like they are having a dramatic change.
Yeah, decrease in injury. Or no, in productivity.
Yeah, productivity,
Mm-hmm.
which is always my problem with safety.
Yeah.
It's like
Wow, that
take,
increases. Jeez, 21 zeros.
What exactly is smelting?
It explains in the text, but I don't
Yeah.
at the
remember.
beginning. I think it's like how they take the raw material that they mine and turn it into like a clump of aluminum.
Yeah. But yeah, so if you look at smelting, just in 4 years, well, I guess if you look at the end of the table, it splits 1991 into 3 things, and that's why it goes super low.
There we go.
But if you go, so 1986 or 1987, and you divide it by 12, it's basically the same as 1991. It's just 1991 in August is half a point higher. So really, their productivity is kind of staying the same, but not like there's not a dramatic decrease.
Oh, so
Okay.
that is good for them then.
And in 7, it just shows the injuries. But if you look, it does the same thing in January, August, July, and August.
Mm-hmm.
So that if you add those 3 numbers, that's for a year. So the injuries for smelting is 3 times as much than the year before.
Right.
So their safety precautions are, I don't know, not working, I guess, and their productivity level is lowering, but not too dramatic to have to worry about. No, that's what I see. Okay, for group 2, Cat and Chovy.
Yep.
Yeah. So congestion looks like it's still pretty high. Was that what you were thinking too, Kent?
Yeah, so this is the same thing. We have to like times those by 12. And that would probably show. So like, let's see, congestion was 4. So that's 48 on congestion. That's increased. Well, no, it's decreased a little bit.
Hmm.
It's kind of a weird way to put your numbers in. But
And what about housekeeping?
let's see, housekeeping. Same, 48. It's gone down a little bit.
And atmospheric?
Improper position. Has gone up quite
For
a bit.
which one?
Improper position. So that one's gone up.
You have to remember, if you look at the 1991, it only goes to August. It doesn't even have the full year. So there's still potential that there will be injuries in September through December too. So
Yeah,
like
I was
it'd
just
be
kind of
hard.
basing it off of August.
Yeah. Yeah, we would be able to go through there and be able to compare ups and
There,
downs.
yeah, there hasn't been much of a change or a slight increase in incidents.
Yeah, so there's nothing too dramatic to even worry about. Okay. Well, that was harder than I thought it would be. Oh, did it bring me back? Perfect. There we go. Okay, and so Exhibit 6, it just has those samples of injuries. If you go to it, and I was just looking through to compare which type of injury it kind of was. And if you look through and it just bolds them, the type of injury it was. And if you remember in the beginning where that the Joint Commission type group came in and they based the level of injury, and there's a lot of medical cases. I can't remember which that was. So the medical case, it was you met a doctor. All three of them you meet a doctor, but I think the medical case was a little bit more severe than just the restricted workday case. I can't remember. I have to go up there. Okay, so I found it. So the restricted cases meant that a doctor limited the activity a worker could perform. So yeah, that's of course.
That's more
Lost
serious.
workday injuries included cases where the doctor sent the patient home, which I don't think there was any lost day work days.
There was
And
one.
There was?
Yeah.
I'll have to go back. And then the third, doctor's care but did not alter what the worker was permitted to do.
Fractured hip and hospitalized. That was the
Yeah.
lost work case. Ouch.
Yeah, so restricted work. Okay, let's see. And these were all in the month of August too. So like there are some pretty major injuries, even small injuries, and it goes across the board too. Like there's not just small injuries or big injuries. So really this whole group thing that we kind of data showed, there wasn't really any dramatic change from the years before. So I guess that's kind of what it was trying to show us. But I guess,
isn't it crazy though? They spent like $4 million on
Yeah.
safety improvements.
yeah, that was like 6 years before that too. So, or for 1991. It was like 1980 something. I can't remember the year, but okay. So let's move to the third section. Okay, so group one, I guess you discovered that safety goes down, the number of hours to produce a ton after also go down. So both go down. In other words, as safety improves over the long run, productivity also improves. So I don't know, are you guys surprised by that? The longer, as safety improves over a time, I guess productivity improves. What do you guys think about that?
I agree with that just because I've taken several safety courses and I've kind of seen how it applies to the actual work field. I worked in a steel factory and we never really followed any safety rules. And one of my good buddies, Martine, that I worked with, broke his finger really bad that could have easily been prevented. And he ended up missing at least 3 days of work. And we kind of fell behind in production because he was the only one that knew how to operate a certain machine. So I can easily see how that can be affected.
Like in the readings, it also talked about like when they slowed down the speeds of the trucks and how fast they could run, there was less problems with the trucks and they functioned better and they didn't have to do so much upkeep, and that lowered costs as well. So,
Which is surprising to me, at least.
yeah.
Do you think the faster you get there, the faster the people need to get their parts and the faster things can get done? But also, if someone gets hurt, then I guess your whole production would get shut down because then you have to deal with it.
Right.
So do you think productivity would go down with increased safety?
Feels like it sometimes.
Especially when there's those new rules and they're new and you have to follow them and you're being watched. I hate when people come and watch you work because then you know like, oh, you can't mess up. So I guess productivity can still end up that way.
Right.
Okay, so which one of these, Which type of problem do you think is easiest to solve? The ones that are expensive or the ones that involve people's behavior?
People.
The ones, oh, the ones that involve people's behavior, I think are, we automatically want to just spend the money to fix something. We think it's easier, right? We'll just spend some money, fix the problem. But in the long run, it's not. It's a waste of money and a waste of everybody's time. I don't know. That's what I got from this. And from all of the readings that we did before this was, if they would just ask the workers and ask their opinion on what could be done, because they're the workers, they're in there, they know what's going on how to improve. And it also says in here, until every worker could be held accountable for any safety procedure he or she violated, many managers believe that violations would persist. And then they also talked about getting the higher ups, they need to come to the crew safety meetings and bring their concerns down to the lower levels. So I just think they're missing this big component of communication. They're trying to solve it all from, these higher ups implementing all these rules to follow instead of just asking the workers and creating this better open communication.
And what's funny to me is that they're so willing to spend $4 million to change railing, things like that, but they're not willing to give $4 million to the employees.
Right.
I just think the best safety meetings I've seen is that my buddy worked for a processing facility, and they gave everyone jackets because they had a whole month where they didn't have any incidents.
Mm-hmm.
And that type of incentive, saying, hey, we're concerned about you, we want to invest in you. And so like if everyone's able to get through this without having any incidents, we care about everyone being safe, then we'll give you a bonus, or everyone gets a benefit or something. I think that's a lot more effective, and that's showing that you care a lot more about them. And going around and putting up railings for $4 million is an absolute waste to me.
I think the employees would get kind of annoyed that they just keep putting like bars in the way that you have to move, or like locks just to make sure someone else doesn't continue their process. I don't know. I agree with both of you. So. What challenges are Mission Valley up against?
Getting people to have a good attitude towards safety and wanting to follow the rules.
Almost seems like there's a little bit of a culture there where it's good to get hurt a little bit, to get smashed fingers and cut up,
That would
and
be tough.
Right.
so they really think the safety thing's pretty dumb. So changing their culture a little bit can be tough. But.
Yeah, that would be really hard, just because everyone is kind of a small community that works there anyways. So, but I do agree with that. Like, if you can change the culture, you can change the outcome.
And it doesn't need to start from the top. I feel like a big reason it's failing is because the upper level guys that aren't out on the floor, that aren't out doing those things, they're not really concerned with the people. They're concerned with the number.
Right.
They're concerned with getting 0. They're not concerned with the people at all. And that's why there's a big disconnect there between the managers and the employees. And that seems to be common a lot of times.
Yeah. Okay. What are specific things they did that worked? Like in the past, that worked also.
They gave a lot of examples of things that didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, like the ring thing. Like, I don't know. If I was working in that type of facility, I would not wear a ring because like there are so many things that could get my finger grabbed and ripped off. So I don't know. There's just a lot of things that didn't work too. So
I think the slowing the trucks down, like Josh mentioned, that one actually worked.
Oh yeah.
It increased their productivity. There was less repairs. So that one actually worked for them.
what do you think about the people lane and the truck lane, or the forklift lane?
Oh, are you talking about like the people or the, what do they call it? Pedestrian lanes? or whatever?
Yeah. You think those worked? I think they did.
I don't know.
It's probably the same thing with the trucks going slower. It's just more organized. Can't really. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you guys a couple questions. I'm gonna just skip a couple, just because we're pretty good on time. So I'm gonna ask you guys some safety procedures in your guys' life. So do you always wear your guys' seatbelts?
Yes,
It depends how far I go.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
This has been a major
Usually-
controversy in my life.
Not always.
I always do on the highway. Always on the highway. And always when I'm back at home in Washington, because you will get a fat ticket if you don't.
Yeah. Okay, do you guys avoid texting in dangerous places? Before you guys think about this, I'll just say Pokemon Go was a great example of this. So do you guys avoid texting in dangerous places?
Yes.
I'm
Okay.
pretty good.
I never text when I drive, but besides that, I don't really think about it.
Yeah. Okay, do you crosswalks?
Yes, because Rexburg has a $76 fine if you don't.
Yes, you do. Okay, do you use a ladder instead of a chair?
No, I always use a chair.
Yeah, I think he's probably talking about those ones that turn around. I don't know. Those ones are sketchy.
A really
Um,
chair.
No, I wouldn't use one of those, but I always use a stable chair.
Yeah, well, an example with using a chair, my mom, when I was young, was putting Christmas lights around our tree, and she was using a chair, and she fell down from the chair and ripped her finger open and had to get stitches. So I guess, like, I don't know, it would have probably been better for her to use a ladder. I don't know, because he kind of like reached up there and then might have like leaned forward. I don't know.
Right.
It depends on the situation. I guess all of these depend on the situation. So do you guys drive the speed limit?
5 over.
Yeah.
That's pretty accurate, 5 over.
Okay, so all these questions we basically kind of said there's times we do and times you don't. And so what would get them to change, or what would get you guys to change your behavior, or yeah? of
I'd
doing
say,
this?
well, for me, when I had a family, that definitely changed my behavior. Because before, single guy, young guy, I didn't really care. But now that I have a wife and a son that depend on me, I like a lot of times I think, wow, I need to put my seatbelt on because legitimately, if I got in a wreck, I don't want to leave them. I don't want to do that to them. So definitely that changed my behavior more than anything else.
Good point.
Well, the only one I answered yes to all the time consistently is my seatbelt, and I always wear my seatbelt because I have gotten in an accident. So since then, there's never been a day that goes by that I don't put my seatbelt on. So it's that personal experience with it has changed my mind about it.
Okay, so going all the way back to the beginning. So when they were gonna fire that guy, would you think that that meeting would have been more of a personal experience type of thing to teach him and change his behavior?
I think that's definitely the most effective because I think it's natural human instincts, but when people come in and say I'm doing things wrong and I'm so horrible at this, I'm just like, who are you? And like you don't even know. But when people like are able to say, hey, this happened to me, we're really concerned about your safety, your team's safety. So I think it's definitely a good teaching opportunity and a better way to implement it than immediate discipline like that.
Yeah, I like
Extreme
that. I think it's just important how you approach it.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna look at Linda's 1992 plan. So her plans for next year. So go through each item on the list. Do you guys know where that is on the theme?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't remember where it is.
What page is it?
It's all the way down.
Like the very end, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Exhibit 11,
Oh, yeah, there it
page
is.
21.
Yeah, got it.
Can you say that again? Exhibit 11.
Page
Okay.
21.
Very, very end.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll just
second.
read them, and then I'll ask you a couple questions. So the first one, monitor complete implementation of recommendations of falls. Establish reporting procedure, provide detailed tracking and report. So number 2, conduct stage 3 training for all supervisors and lead operators. 3, publish a bi-weekly newsletter on safety in plant. Coordinate with Pittsburgh. Okay. 4, improve safety committee operations. Better information, train committee leaders at crew level. That one's really good. Number 5, establish safety recognition program, awards, and dinner based on performance improvement. Make it fun. And the last one, meet with superintendents on a monthly basis to review safety performance, improve the meetings and the monthly reports. Okay, so the first question is, which one will help the company to its goals?
I like 4 and 5.
I agree. Those two
Number
stuck out to me.
I like 6 also, just because it's a monthly basis type of thing going to the superintendents. You would think that would be already happening, but apparently it probably isn't.
Right.
Okay, and then which ones won't help much?
1.
1.
3.
Yeah, a newsletter. I
Yeah,
don't think the
3
newsletter
also.
would help. Yeah, 3. I also don't think 1 also with whoever said 1, just because they've been monitoring anyways, and it's obviously not helping.
And with the culture that's there right now, it actually make things worse.
Right.
Yeah, probably would. Okay, what do you guys think is missing from the list?
Innovation. I don't know. Did you guys watch the video by Dan Pink?
Yes,
The
I
one
did.
on Thrive? So that was probably one of my favorite parts of this week. And remember when he talked about the Australian company that instituted FedEx days? One day out of the whole year, they just told everybody that they could do whatever they want. They could think of whatever they want and come up with whatever they wanted. And it was based on that FedEx, overnight delivery idea. So, but most of their really great ideas came from that one day of the year. And I just feel like this company could really benefit from something like that.
Okay, any other things that are missing from the list?
I'd just say investment heavily in people and not in process. Like not in regulation, but invest in the people, and that will do way more than any of the other
Right,
things you
it's
can
what
do.
they care about, what they know.
Ask them how they think they can make it more safe. You know, ask the people that are doing it.
Yeah.
Like, how can we?
Especially when you can tell which people care about their safety too, because depending on where they work too. So you can ask them. So maybe monthly meetings on how to keep the workers safe too, or how the workers can better keep them safe. Okay, and so we're going to talk about culture and attitudes, or changing culture and attitudes. So since everyone works from the community at that Mission Valley, do you guys think the community and their families would be helpful in the workplace?
Say that again. Would they be helpful?
Yeah, so with the community and their families, be a good way to change the culture and attitude of Mission Valley.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Joey.
I was just gonna say that in one of my safety classes, they actually used the family as a good example to kind of help motivate the workers to be more safe. So when they would have these parties with the safety parties at the end of each month or something, they'd make sure to invite the families to get them involved so that their wives and their children kind of understand what's going on while they're at work, and the importance of safety. So that motivates the workers to want to be more safe too. And like we've kind of talked about already, it shows that the businesses, the employers actually care about the safety and well-being of the workers.
Yeah, I think that's investing in people. You know, that's investing in their community, investing in their families, and like that's a lot better way to get someone to change.
Right.
Okay, sweet. Thanks for your comments today. We'll do this last step. It's just those questions again. So what did you guys learn from this case and would apply to future workplaces?
I think for me, you can't just throw money at a problem. You really got to change the attitudes of the employees, and then we can use that with safety or whatever problems we come up against in life. We can't just throw money at it, but we really got to focus on what's the real problem.
And going along with that, yeah, I think investing in people, I like that phrase. I think that's a good one to sum up what I got from this. Invest in people.
I'd say getting people's input as well on how to solve problems. Those that are in the work area that are actually around all these problems, ask for their opinions on how you can improve the situation.
Yeah, I love that. I definitely in that position, that's what I think of most, is that if people actually knew what it was like, they would make the rules a lot differently. And along with the money too, if there is money thrown at it, just make sure that it's thrown in the right direction. You know, whatever money is dedicated to it, make sure that it is used appropriately and not just wasted, because it usually is just wasted.
One other thing I learned in this discussion was culture doesn't change unless the supervisors and the managers are willing to help change also. Okay, rate the discussion 0 out of 10.
I'd give it a 10. I thought there was a lot of good discussion and a lot of good insights that I hadn't thought about, and I really enjoyed it, at least for the part that I was here for.
I'll give you a 10 as well. Just there's a lot to cover, and you did a really good job covering it all. And it was really organized, and like Josh was saying, that there's a lot of things that I didn't even think of that we were able to apply.
Give it a 10. I like our group. I like that we all participate. I think you do a good job leading, William, and we've never had a problem with getting anyone to contribute. So I just like said thank you to everyone because it's been a good group.
Yeah.
And I will end the thing as well.
Okay, I'm giving it an 8 just because I didn't like the group part. I don't know. It would have been a lot easier to do if we were all together instead of looking on a screen trying to read small words. I don't know. But if it was just the discussion, I would give it a 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you like me doing as the leader during the discussion?
You kept it flowing really well. You kept us on track with the questions and the way it was organized, and you definitely tackled that that group section as best you could.
Agreed.
Okay,
Yeah,
was there, sorry. Is there anything that I could have done better?
I don't
Okay.
think so.
Okay, so just
good.
because we have 5 people, I'll be a group leader again in my 5 weeks. I think it's like the second to last one or the last one.
Yeah, and I think there's just 2 weeks left, right? So 2 people will have to do it that third time,
Yeah.
but you don't have to write a report that last time.
No, you only need to write 2 reports. And if you guys forgot to write a report, then you can switch and then do the last 2 weeks,
last
if
one.
you understand. Yeah. Okay.
So I have it next week, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's it for the discussion. Let's talk about doohickeys really fast. It's due, so Josh is in charge of turning it in.
Yep.
So I've kind of been working on it. I only have one solution left to do. We have about, well, don't freak out, computer. We have about 1450 words, so 1,450 words. So we'll need about 2,100 more words. And you guys would be able to, let me calculate that really quick.
Josh, I'll have mine to you by tomorrow night, okay? Because I'm going out of town, so no worries.
fine.
I haven't done any yet, but they'll all be to you by tomorrow night.
That's probably about when I'll get to mine too. So
Yeah, I'll get it done soon also.
Yeah, so about 180 words per solution, which isn't that bad. Just try to, if you can't fluff it anymore, just write more. If you look at my first solution to the first problem, I couldn't figure out anything else to do, so I put questions down that could be asked, and that got like 50 words in. So just try to fluff it up.
Yeah.
Just remember to do the references, just because that's what he's going to look at really fast to see if we used any.
Cool.
Right.
Yep.
And Josh, when
Yes.
do you want us to have this done? Do you want it just Saturday night and then you can look through it Sunday?
yeah, Saturday night, if you can get it done by like 7 or 8, that would be perfect. If not, that's okay too. I'll get it done by Sunday, and I'll send you all a text to let you look it over.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you just send it to his email, the Brother Bonnie's email,
Okay.
and he'll send you the grade right back to you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
See you
Yep.
next week.
Bye.